Okay, take out a piece of paper, write these down. These are steps for how to solve an equation. So, step number 1. If it has denominators, we're going to find the LCM. And get rid of the denominators, or get rid of the decimals, whichever one it has. So that's step number 1. Now remember, when we do this, if we have an LCM, write it sine, LCM, term in parentheses. Sine, LCM, term in parentheses. Sine, LCM, term in parentheses for every single term that you have. Do not just do a big parentheses around the entire thing and say, oh, I'll just do it for all of it. That just messes us up, especially with signs usually. Do it for every single one. If you have 57 terms in that equation, do it 57 times. It actually will save you time and headache. Okay? Next step. Simplify everything on each side of the equal sign separately. Okay? Now remember, we said that we simplify equations and we simplify expressions and we solve equations. So this is all about equations. What that actually means is an equation is an expression equaling an expression. So, we're going to simplify everything on each side of the equal sign separately. Then, step number 3, we want to get all our variable, VAR stands for variable, terms on one side or the other. And keep them positive if possible. I know a lot of times teachers tell you you must always put the variable terms on the left side. I say forget that. Put them on the side that will keep them positive. We do way better when our numbers are smaller. We do way better when we have positives as opposed to negatives. So keep them positive whenever possible. Okay? Always, always, always focus on the variable terms. This is the next step. Get your variable terms together. Then, get the variable term by itself. Well, that means getting rid of everything else that's with it. It's going to have to go to the other side, whichever side it's on. Okay? So these two are working with adding and subtracting. Okay? And then this one is to finally get the variable by itself. Okay? and that is dividing. Okay? We very often think about when we very first start trying to solve equations, our minds go to isolating the variable, and the first thing we want to do is dividing. But dividing is the very last thing. Get rid of that notion, isolate, and think of these steps. Always keeping the variable terms, and then the variable, and then term, and then finally the variable in mind. Focus on that always. Now that's not our last step. Our last step is to check. Okay? When you check, you always put your answer back into the original equation, wherever the letter is, and then you do all the calculations down one side and all the calculations down the other. When we check, we never, ever, ever go across the equal sign. So once you've done all the calculations, when it gets down to the bottom, if the numbers you have are exactly the same, then the answer you got is correct. What you got when you were checking is not your answer, but the answer that you got is correct. If the numbers when you were checking are different in any way, even a little bit, say 3 and -3, then what that means is, oh, you didn't get the right answer, go back and try it again. Follow these steps. It will help you a ton.